everybody. Dr. Rick Wallace dropping in on you. I hope that the week has gone great for you so far. We are already at Thursday. This is Business Thursday. We're going to talk about an important element in the development of any business endeavor and any type of financial endeavor that involves a portion of a market industry or the population. you know. So we're gonna get into that. Before we do, if anybody is interested in working with me in a one-on-one capacity, and you're serious about being committed to it for at least 12 weeks up to a year, you can email the support team at the Visionetics Institute at lifechange@rickwallacephd.link. That email address is in the description box. Email that and inquire about working with me, and they will give you the details, and you can take it from there. If you haven't gotten my 20th book, Critical Mass, you definitely want to get that. It's also the first book in a 6-book series. Also, you can still pre-order for a short period now because we're about to release my 21st book, the second book in that 6-book series, I Am. So if you haven't gotten Critical Mass or pre-ordered I Am, now's the time to do it. Plus, when you pre-order I Am, you also get a free 30-minute breakthrough session with yours truly. There's some people that I know have been waiting to get back with me on the availability that have already pre-ordered, and to schedule yours, I'll be responding to you. If you've responded to the support team, I'll be responding to you, or they'll be responding to you to set up that session. So let's get off into it. One of the most important elements of building a business, expanding a business, promoting a business, getting your name out, and creating the most effective platform from which to do business is branding. Branding has always been seen as a part of the marketing process. It's about developing a clear image of the business, a clear message of how the business is going to be operated, what can be expected, what's being delivered, how it's being delivered, and so much goes into the brand. Now, one thing that I am a firm believer in is building your personal brand and building it independent of your business brand. When I say independent, I don't mean like it can't be associated with it. I mean it has to be able to stand on its own. If you sell your business or if you build another business, you want your personal brand to be out in front of you. The first time that I really became aware of the power of a personal brand was probably in the early 90s with Russell Simmons. Russell Simmons had created Def Jam Records. Then he moved into Def Comedy Jam, and that was sort of a thing happening. While you were aware of the business endeavors, Def Comedy, Def Jam, you were also aware of the person, and you were aware of how they move, how they operate, what they do, what you can expect from them. And then it became a situation where when you heard that Russell was doing something, it no longer had the Def label on it. So that brand had shifted, and yet he was still doing things, the fat form, the baby fat. And then on into more corporate or ambiguous endeavors that still produced, but you learn to understand if Russell's going to be involved, it's probably going to do, it's going to be done a certain way. There's so many people you can look at now with personal brands. Now that I understand the power of personal brands, everybody that is doing something on a high level has a personal brand. Elon Musk, Gary Vee, Tony Robbins, I can go on and on, Lisa Nichols and Eric Thomas, and all these people. And actually, if you think about them, their name stands out above their companies. It's the building of a personal brand, because your personal brand is transferable. Your personal brand is something that you can literally take and start something up. And based on how you built your personal brand, the reputation, the way you engage, what people can expect, it'll go out in front of every new endeavor and open up pathways for you. It's a strong way of building trust, and trust in relationship is huge. in the building and creating longevity in any type of endeavor, and that includes business. Now, the second part of this is currently there's no more powerful and effective way to build brand, personal brand, business brand, no more powerful way right now than social media. Most major corporations have shifted their marketing and branding spend to almost 80% or more social media. Obviously, you still see stuff on television, you still hear stuff on the radio, but the engagement that social media allows, the direct engagement, the ability to easily collect customer intelligence and understand your market and create your products based off of need and demand instead of trying to create something and then find people who want it. It is so powerful. Plus, people on social media are literally conditioned to respond and engage. So what would be intrusive in normal situations is no longer intrusive on social media. They expect to be approached and they respond. They tell you what you want to know. It's the new way of doing and conducting studies and surveys. It's amazing. So I want to talk real briefly about how you can build your personal brand using social media. This is real quick, it's general, but it can be tweaked and expanded and made more complex based off of need, based off of desire and approach and projected direction, and so many other things that are important. But here's the thing. The first thing that you have to determine, and anybody can do this. I'm a person that doesn't believe that there are people that can't do something. I believe that you have to find the way that works for you based off of how you're built, how you work, how you operate. And so the first thing that you have to determine when you're talking about building a brand on social media is to decide on the method of communication, whether it's going to be audio, something like a podcast, it's going to be video, writing, things of that nature. You've got to determine how you best communicate. Some people are able to communicate in multiple ways. I'm able to do things in video. I'm also a writer, so I'm able to write in blogs, able to write informative posts. I'm able to do a lot of that stuff on those two ranges. I'm also about to go back into podcasting. I hadn't been in it in years. I think 2013. I stopped podcasting and started to focus on video creation and production via YouTube primarily, but a couple of other places as well. And we're still expanding that. We just kicked off a new video campaign on LinkedIn. So excited about that. But decide on what method of communication you're going to use. Second of all, you need to choose your platform. And a lot of things go into choosing your platform. Personally, based off of all the metrics and the numbers that are out there, Facebook is by far the best platform for creating a branding campaign and branding yourself, whether it's personally or business. It's unbelievable. However, there are some things that can change that, primarily your target audience. If your target audience is under the age of 26, Facebook is probably not going to be as effective for you because most of those people in that age demographic gravitate towards Instagram and YouTube, especially Instagram. Everything is a capture now. So Instagram has a lot of power in the millennial and post-millennial populations and demographics. But Facebook, if you're talking about a mainstream business where even post-millennials and millennials are still going to use it, Facebook is going to probably be that, because you can communicate via writing, you can communicate via podcast, you can share almost anything on Facebook. You can create almost any approach. You can use almost any approach. Plus the marketing spend for ads on Facebook versus what you get in ROI is absolutely unbelievable. So that's one thing. So you got to choose your platform. In my case, it's multiple platforms. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Periscope. And now I've always been on LinkedIn and share stuff on LinkedIn, but now I am specifically targeting a specific demographic on LinkedIn, and there's going to be a specific approach to that particular campaign. Okay, then next you need to build macro content. Macro content is going to be comprehensive content. It's going to be longer articles, longer videos, you know, longer engagement that requires a little bit more time of your users. You want them to know as much about you as possible without losing their attention. So you need to find out where their attention span lies. Obviously, on Instagram, it's not as long as it is on Facebook or YouTube. So you have to kind of understand that, and you have to adjust how you engage. But your macro content is going to be your more comprehensive, detailed, a full explanation type post. Then what you're going to start doing is using your macro content to convert into micro content. You're going to take a 1 hour video. I'm just giving you an example, a 1 hour video on YouTube, and maybe make 7 or 8 smaller videos that are bites out of it that can still make sense and deliver 1 point instead of 10. You know, for instance, I'm going to take this content eventually and break it down into at least 8 smaller pieces of engagement where we're going to talk about each element of personal branding in just this one short video. And then I may make it a series. I may make it, you know, just a follow-up or whatever. But that's how you do it. You take content you've already created and recreate new content that's micro, that's easy to hit, read, get something out of, and go, because people are on the move now. While people who are really committed and sunk in will be able to take in and devour the larger macro content, there's a lot of people that still want to get stuff that'll become interested in what you're doing, and they will get more out of the shorter versions. And I'm not the shorter version person, so what I decided I had to do, instead of trying to create a short version video, I just break down videos all there, get what I want out of it, and post it, and it's working. Also, when you're building content, this is on the same plane. When you're building content, it is important when building content and creating content that you understand the audience that you're targeting, that you understand what's important to them, what they're looking for, what their desires, likes, and concerns are, because you want the content that you're posting to be valuable to them. Now, every piece of content doesn't have to be asking for something or trying to sell something. You want them to be able to say, I can go here and I can actually get some content that I can read that is valuable. And even if it is asking for something, the content that's presented provides an answer to something. You want everything to be of value. And yes, you have to ask. You have to point them in the right direction. And so it's important that you are aware of doing that and when and how to do it. And that's going to be important. And you're going to have to pay attention to the analytics, the metrics, the statistics that roll in that tell you how a certain post performs, so that you know what works and what doesn't work. Because what works, you want to repeat. What doesn't work, you want to push it to the side because it's time consuming. All right, then you're going to move into building content around your personality and passion. What makes you valuable is your uniqueness. What brings value in a way that makes sure you have a place in the market is your uniqueness, how you do things, how you operate, what defines you and distinguishes you from everybody else in the industry. And so what you want to do is build your content around your personality and your passion, so people kind of get who you are by consuming your content. They can kind of feel like, I know this person. You know, I know this person. You know, maybe they are serious and analytic all the time. Maybe they are comedic. You know, they know how to make you laugh, but they're still telling you something you need to know. Maybe they're kind of abrasive, you know, and straight to the point, like a Gary Vee, you know, a Tony Robbins, you know, and Eric Thomas. Those type of guys, maybe they're highly inspirational and, you know, knowledgeable and experienced, like a Les Brown, you know, stuff like that. You know, you've got to know, and I'm talking like stuff out of my industry because it's easy for me to pull those names, but this goes for any industry, from hair care to hair products, retail, service oriented. it doesn't matter. You have to have an understanding of what makes you special in your industry so that you can put that out in front and you can show people, because see, not everybody's going to be drawn to you. Not everybody's going to benefit from how you do things. You want to identify your market. You want to make sure that you are focused in and honed in on your market and building your place and taking your share of that market. Your market share is going to be solidified highly about how you personally brand yourself. Okay. And then after you do that, you want to measure your steps. What do I mean by that? Understand the consequences of your decisions and your actions is what I'm trying to say when I say measure your steps. You want to know by doing something. And for instance, there may be a situation where you and your parents have a different belief. And if you're pushing this belief heavy enough that it's going to find its way back to your parents, you've got to understand that that might create some conflict. That may be something that you're going to be pushing that you may not be on the same page with your spouse. And you've got to ask yourself, are the benefits and the joy and the happiness I'm going to experience by doing this worth the discomfort that it's going to create in my relationships? And the consequences go far beyond relationships up close, but you've got to know the consequences. But it doesn't mean that you compromise. It simply means that you know the consequences and you're aware of them and you've given them the proper amount of consideration. Second is get out ahead of the trends. I can't stress this enough. Everybody likes to jump on trends, and if you jump on early enough, you get some movement out of it. You get some productivity out of it. You get some lucrative returns out of it. But when you're able to get out in front of a trend, you become a trendsetter. You become a person that's doing things that haven't yet started trending. You know, it may take a while. You know, I know people that were on YouTube before I was, and they were, as I am, or as I was, very committed, you know, to being there and becoming a force on it, even though it didn't happen overnight. And there's a reason that mine didn't happen overnight. And I'm going to get to that because that's the next point. But you get out ahead of the trends. And what I did is I stayed with it. Now let's talk about, finally, don't compromise. Don't go out chasing what works. And what do I mean by that? When I got on YouTube, my thing was to take the work that I had been doing primarily on Facebook and Twitter. I was kind of playing around with Instagram, hadn't really got there yet, but I was trying to take what I was doing on Facebook and Twitter and do it in video form. And I had a specific image, this personal brand I was creating. And it's that I'm a serious-minded person. Now, don't get me wrong, my family will tell you I'm crazy as hell. I have fun. I do. But when I'm doing business, I'm about business. If I find something funny, I'll say it, and I'll definitely laugh at it. But when I'm off, you know, and I'm dealing with my family, I drive them nuts. And that's who I am when I'm in a certain environment. When I'm about business, I'm about getting it. I'm up in the morning, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, every freaking morning, 7 days a week. And I'm grinding towards something. And I'm focused on it, and I'm seeing it expand. I'm seeing it come to life over time. And so I know what it takes and where I'm at. But I get on YouTube, right? Some of you have heard this story. And I get out there, and it's not getting the traction that it was getting on Facebook initially. And matter of fact, for the longest, I had one subscriber who was a troll. And it was this troll's only job on my channel was to tell me how sorry and crappy my videos were, and that nobody was watching them, and that it sucked. And that person, I think, is still there, just based off a little stuff that I see. But that was it. This was, you know, 2012, 2013, somewhere up in there, right? You know, I had saw some things. I had probably started my first channel like 2011, but really focusing on it, getting it done was 2013. And so I'm looking at it and I'm deciding, you know, man, I'm gonna go ahead. These people are doing pranks and getting hundreds of thousands of likes. They got 40,000, 50,000 subscribers. This person up here got over 100,000 subscribers. They're doing jokes. They're doing, you know, all of this other stuff. That wasn't me. Do I like to have fun and laugh and keep it laughing? Yeah, my wife will tell you I keep her laughing. I think that's like so important. And I have my kids cracking up, and and I talk to my boys on the phone, and we laugh and joke, and it's all good. But when it's time for me and really what I do is I help people. I help people become the better version of themselves in a number of different ways. And to me, that's a serious responsibility. When the time comes to make them laugh, I make them laugh. But people need to see me as someone capable, not a clown. And I'm not saying that there isn't a space for a clown. I'm saying that with what I do, people won't take a clown serious. So I needed to maintain that. But it wasn't producing any views. It wasn't producing any subscriptions, and that doesn't produce money. And it was important for me to produce something that was helpful, but also produced a form of revenue. And so I said, okay, it's going to be slow boogie, but I trust and believe in what I'm doing. This is what I mean by don't compromise. See, what I didn't want to do is I didn't want to buy into short-term vanity matrix or vanity analytics where I can see where people are doing stuff that immediately appeal. Why? Because that's short-lived. You see a video, it goes viral. It's great. It's going to produce some revenue, but after a while, it's going to fall off because the level of impact it has in being funny isn't going to consistently last. Number one is most jokes are funny because they align with a certain cultural reality at a certain specific time. As culture evolves, that stops being funny. That's why our kids look at some of the jokes of our favorite comedians and they sit up there and they look and they kind of shrug their shoulders. Same thing with music. It's because culture evolves, and if the music or the material isn't written in an evergreen form where it has longevity and truth to it and value to it, no matter what the time is, it's not going to last. See, I've tried to create material based off of who I am and how I plan on engaging the world. I wanted to create material that as long as YouTube is up and that's up, it's making money, but not only that, it's helping people. And so that is what I did. And long story short, it took me until the end of last year to hit 1 million views, but I did it. I'm approaching 14,000 subscribers when it took me, years to get to 100. But I didn't give up because what I had to offer was, I had to let people find me. And I probably wasn't doing the best job of setting up the channel and promoting it. And so I started to learn how do you get your, how to set up your tags on YouTube, how to fill your description box with content that will give your particular video a high rank in search content. You got to understand, outside of Google, YouTube, which is also owned by Google, is the second largest search engine in the world. So people come there, they're searching for stuff, not necessarily knowing what they're looking for. And depending on how your video ranks is going to determine how it shows up in searches. And so people come looking for how to overcome procrastination. Hey, my stuff is moving up and up and up because I'm understanding it. And so I'm working it, but it took time and I stayed true to what it is that I was doing. And that's so important. It's so important to understand that you have to stay true to what it is that you are and you believe in. Don't sell out for what you think will work because it's a quick fix or it looks like it's going to work. Because if it doesn't align with who you are, you sold yourself. And now you got to keep doing it, and you're taking more and more of yourself and pouring it into something that's not you. Be true to yourself. Be true to yourself. You've got to understand who you are, how you operate, what kind of product, service you want to present, and how you want it to be perceived. And you have to live on that line. And it's not always going to be something that jumps out and takes off. I've had some videos that have gone viral that have definitely helped me. Now, here's the thing. Here's how it plays out. Once people start to find me, and now the subscription are jumping and growing fast. But check out this. It took me all the way to the end of last year to get to a million views. I will hit 2 million this month. So it took me 6 years to get a million, and the second million came in roughly around 6 months. And the third million will probably come in half that time based off of the analytics and how things are growing. And so what am I saying? I'm saying that there's a process, but the most important part of process to me is authenticity and the genuineness of who you are. Be you, be all of you, own you, the good and the bad. People need to see you and know who you are. People need to relate. And people say, why would I want to show the world the bad? Because the bad humanizes you. You know, where I've seen people is if all people see is the good, you know, how you won, they can't relate to that because nobody has a perfect life. Nobody's perfect. Nobody does everything right. Nobody goes out there and never makes a mistake. But when they can see, okay, you're winning, but you have fallibilities, you have imperfections, you made some dumb decisions along the line, you've done some stuff you're not proud of, but you still make it. You failed at business a few times, but now you're winning. And they can relate to that. And they can see the authenticity in it. And if you're pure about your intentions, if you are actually pure about with me, I love helping people become better than they are, their best version of themselves. It isn't my job to judge them. It's not my job to tell you, you suck or you should be this. It's my job for them to tell me what they would like to be. You know, this is where I'm at. This is where I would like to be. Let me help you get there because God designed you to be your best self. And because of that design, you can always become your better self. There's no place that you can go. There's nothing you can do. And I tell people all the time, there's nothing you can do to disqualify yourself from your purpose. And people will tell you that. People tell you God isn't happy with you. God is not happy with decisions, but God still has a plan and you still have a purpose and you are never disqualified from that purpose. I tell people all the time, the reason that you're frustrated with your prayer life, if you're praying to God and asking God to deliver you from the giants he sent you to slay, you cannot pray yourself out of your purpose. You're going to have to put some action in. You're going to have to take some action. You're going to have to do some things. And you can sit up and hide in the corner of comfort all you want to, but it's not going to excuse you. At the end of the day, it's still going to be held accountable. And the one thing that having been in a situation where I've spent a lot of time in senior care facilities, nursing homes, hospices, sitting with, talking with, praying with, sharing with people who are transitioning out of this life, out of this world. I've seen several types of people. I've seen the person who went out and gave life everything they had. Whatever it was, they went after it. If it came into their mind and it was a good thing, they went and they tried to make it happen. They gave everything they had. They're leaving this world on E. Something I talk about all the time. They lived on full and they are dying on E. And you can see the fulfillment in their eyes. They're not afraid. They are fulfilled. They know they came, they saw, they conquered. That's the way I want to leave this world. The next person is scared. There's uncertainty. They don't know what's going on, what's next. They're so afraid because they never really came into a true understanding or relationship. I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about relationship of understanding just how intimate they could have a relationship with God and what that would come out to mean when you are associated with. Not just know. So there's a difference when you're associated and related than just knowing. So a lot of people know, but not very few people are associated with. When you're associated with the power source, the things that happen. So that person's afraid and you can see the fear in their eyes. And my job at that point is to get the fear to subside, to give them a certain level of peace. But I tell you without question, the most hurtful and unforgettable thing I see in these situations is the person with regret in their eyes. A person that's looking up and knowing I could have did more. I squandered opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to make a difference in this world. God gave me a purpose and I let it sit on the sideline. And you can look at them and tell, and it's no way to bring ease. I mean, there's nothing you can tell them that eases them. I can ease the person that's scary, that's fearful of dying. The person that has the regret, there's nothing I can tell them. You don't want to be that person. You don't want to be the person that's gifted and never exploits the gift. And I don't mean exploit it in a never way. I mean get everything out of it you can. That you're going to take it and you're going to do something exceptional, extraordinary, and phenomenal in this world. You're going to make your presence felt. I tell people all the time, the first half of my life was about me. It was. It was about proving I can do stuff, proving what I could buy, proving what I could drive, proving a bunch of stuff that really never mattered and didn't have any true value or longevity to it that you can rest on. But it was that was me. I was young and I was just trying to live the life that I thought was the life to live. But then I tell people the second half of my life is about legacy. It's about creating something that's so powerful that it outlives me. That long after I'm gone, what I've done in this world is still speaking of me. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm a little bit off right now, but not for, I'm trying to get you to understand something. See, people get lost in chasing the money, did that. People get lost in popularity contests, did that. People get lost in trying to gain and accumulate what other people say will make them happy. And if you're out there trying to create your business based off any of that, you're lost. See, when you make up your mind to understand your purpose, no matter what your purpose is, how God designed you to function, at the end of the day, the number one goal is to touch lives, to change lives, to empower people, to encourage people, to inspire people. No matter what it is you're doing, you may not be in my industry, but you're still inspiring if you're living your purpose. You're still empowering if you're living your purpose. You're doing something that's blessing somebody else. Now you're in your purpose. And when you learn how to bless people, matter of fact, when you learn how to bless people, when your first assignment in the morning is to touch a life, to make a life better, the money will take care of itself. I believe it was Paul that says, he that preaches the gospel should make his living by the gospel. So it doesn't just apply to preachers, though. When you are walking in your gift and you're providing value to the world will compensate. And there are some people you're going to give it to for free. There are other people you're going to charge for it in a specific way, but you're always going to give and present and provide more value than for what you charge. That was the one thing my grandfather taught me, my adopted father, the man that I hold dear. That's my hero. It's one thing he taught me, he said, son, always fill your space, always. And I'm like, what does that mean, Dad? And he's like, it means if you walk in the room and it's people in the room, when you leave the room, you leave them better than you found them. You always deliver more than what you promise. And anybody that's worked with me, that's done sessions with me, know they get more than the time allotted in the session. They get more sessions than they actually purchased, and so much more is just built in me. It's about, I'm going to find a way to bless you beyond what you're expecting to be blessed. That's my goal. And yes, I get compensated for it. But I guarantee you, anybody that's compensated me for working with me will tell you they walked away with way more than what they gave up. Matter of fact, I've got some that have read up 3 and 4 times. Because you are not, I don't care where you're at, I'm not living my best self because there's something better in me. And so I wake up every morning making sure that I'm going to be a better man by the end of the day than I was yesterday. And that's the goal. That's the progression. That's the idea. And if you're doing that, you're becoming. And that's all you're commanded of you in becoming what you were designed to be, becoming. And that's what you want to present to the world. No matter what you're selling, you have to become. I tell people all the time, you don't get what you want, you get what you become. You get what you are. If you're talking money and you got a certain number and you've never hit that number before, it's because you haven't become the person capable, but you are capable of becoming. And so you have to sit up and say, what type of person produces these results? Whatever those results are, you want to be a better husband, a better wife, a better parent. What kind of person will be able to do this? What does that person look like? Okay, now I know what that person looks like. How do I look now? What does that person have that I don't yet have? That's what I'm going to develop in myself. That's what I'm going to grow in myself. I need a little more patience. I need a little more understanding. I need to be a better listener. I need to be a better communicator. I need to be more diligent in gaining and understanding and knowledge of what I'm doing. I need to bring more value to the table. And when you discover that, when you start working on it and you start becoming it, my, you start to see the results. See, God created a world that operates on universal reciprocity. You can call it sowing and reaping. You can call it karma. You can call it planning. You can call it whatever you want to. But at the end of the day, what you put out comes back to you. You can never get more back than what you put out. You can never get a different likeness of what you put out. If you put out negativity, negativity is coming back. If you put out a little positivity is coming back. If you put out lethargy and laziness, what you're going to get is the results that lethargy and laziness produce. If you decide that I'm going to give this everything I have, I got this life, I'm going to take everything I can to be the best I can. I'm going to let love step out in front. I'm going to build my day and my week and my months on gratitude. I'm going to walk out and make something special happen in this world. It's coming. It's coming. See, the call and things that are not. I believe it's in the 33rd chapter of Job. He said, you shall declare a thing and it shall be established for you. A lot of you are speaking things that you don't want. Man, I'm going to lose this. If this don't happen, I'm going to lose this. Or if this don't happen, that's going to happen. Oh my, stop speaking what you don't want. Start making declarations. That's what the book I Am is all about. Stop declaring what you don't want. Stop focusing. Whatever you focus on, you feel. Whatever you focus on, you give power. Stop focusing on the negative. Start focusing on the power. And here's the beautiful thing. God said, I'm going to give you the ability to create things from those things that don't, from things that don't exist. So you're trying to make a life out of things from your past. You're trying to make a life out of bad memories. You're trying to make a new life out of old mistakes. You have allowed your brain to remain in its most primary and primitive function, which is a record keeper. It's a good record. It has memory. That's what your memory is. It's a record keeper of past events. And when you explore a new idea, if your brain is functioning as a record keeper of past events, when you say, I'm going to go out and start a business, but you failed at business, or your dad or mom failed at business, or your friend failed at business, and your only experience with starting a new business is failure, and you go say that, and you're still allowing your brain to function as a record keeper. It can only pull what's in the record, and it pulls out failure, and it tells you you're going to fail, and you back down or you go half-heartedly in. But when you decide that I'm going to use the gift that God gave me to create something out of nothing, I'm going to call things that are not as though they were. You start to use your imagination, and God said, I'm going to create your brain and your mind so that when you start to use your imagination, see, I created the universe from my imagination. It didn't exist. There was no blueprint for it. I called it out of my imagination, and I gave you the same thing. When you start to use your imagination, I'm going to create your mind and your brain so that it can't distinguish between what's being imagined and what's actually happening. And the more you imagine it, the more your brain says, I've already done it. The more you imagine it, the brain says, I'm good at it. The more you imagine it, the more the brain says, wow, I'm super at it. And the next thing you know, it's a part of your naturality. You're literally feeling in your body the winning that hasn't even transpired in a third dimension yet. You've got to learn how to be you. Because see, nobody else can do it like you. Stop emulating others in the sense of trying to be what they are. They were designed to be that. You were designed to be you. Your greatest value is always going to be in being you. Your greatest value is always going to be in living who you are, being the ultimate version of yourself, not trying to be somebody else or do somebody else's work, but you have a work in and of yourself. Your design is indicative of this purpose. When you discover your purpose, I tell people all the time, when you discover your purpose will literally explain your pain. When you discover your purpose, you'll sit up and say, that's why. And when you start to see the results of being committed, even the pain has purpose, and even the pain has productivity and force when you understand it. How do you get through it, Rick? I get through it because I know every time that I get to something like this, if I'm committed to it, if I'm faithful in my work, I come out of it a better man. Lastly, I'm gonna leave you with this and then I'm gone. Best lesson my pops ever taught me. I remember I was 17 years old, came in from football practice, and he said, sit down, son. And I used to love that. Most kids would not want to have to sit down and talk life with a person that was their great grandfather in reality, their adopted father, but somebody significantly older. But I used to love it because the stuff he used to drop on me was crazy. And all I wanted to do was be the best I could be because my goal was to get out of the hood. And so he said, sit down. And he said, I've shared a lot of stuff with you and I hope that you're taking it in, but hey, check this out. You know, I'm paraphrasing it somewhat. He wasn't the most eloquent speaker. He was a second grade educated man that turned the world upside down when you know his life story. But he said, son, if you learn what I'm about to give you, it's going to change your life forever and you will always find a way to come out on top. He said, in this world, you're going to be in one of three places: going into a storm, in a storm, or coming out of one. Said there's nothing you can do to get around it. You are going to find yourself in one of these three places. That's how you're going to live your life: going into a storm, in a storm, and coming out of one. But don't get all upset about it. Don't become nervous. Don't start trying to look for who caused it. Just sit up and know you have one job, son, one job while you're in the storm. And he said, that's to come out a better man than when you went in.
Hello.
Your number one responsibility is to let the storm shape you, strengthen you, empower you, enlighten you. And all of these are frequency raisers. They raise your vibration. They raise your ability to influence the universe as God intended. That's what faith is. It's amazing when you break it down, but ultimately, it's not there to destroy you. Matter of fact, you're built for it. It can't destroy you. You can fold to it, but it can't destroy you. It doesn't have the power to. That being said, look, the 8 principles of personal brand building are written down. I know I kind of got off, but hey, I follow where my heart takes me. And hopefully it'll bless somebody. Somebody needed to hear it. And I know that for sure. So maybe somebody's going to really get something out of that. But the 8 principles are there. They're there to practice. You want to know more about them? Email me. Go through Life Change, the same email address. I'll respond back. People will tell you that. I respond back. But if you haven't gotten the Critical Mass, get it. If you haven't pre-ordered, I am definitely. That self-talk, those declarations you're making, the words that follow I am, are governing your life. You have the ability to change it. With that being said, I'm gonna get out of here. You guys have an unbelievable day. I'm gonna do the same, and maybe I'll even be back later on. But I'm out of here. As I always say, I'm gonna live my life on full each and every day, so that when I leave this place, I die on E. I challenge you to do the same thing. I'm out.